Hi, my name is Emma Chen. I'm 28 years old, and I'm a graphic designer who runs my own small branding agency. I never thought I'd be the type of person to cut off my entire family, but here we are. This is the story of how my sister's wedding became the best thing that ever happened to me, just not in the way anyone expected. Let me start with the moment that changed everything. Picture this. A gorgeous vineyard wedding, string lights everywhere, 200 guests in designer clothes, and me, sitting alone behind a marble pillar in the back corner of the reception hall like I was some kind of party crasher. I could hear the laughter, the clinking glasses, the speeches about family and love. But I couldn't see any of it. And more importantly, nobody could see me. That's exactly how my sister Rachel wanted it. "Just sit here, Emma," she'd hissed at me an hour earlier, her perfectly manicured hand gripping my arm so tight it left marks. "You're wearing that dress and I can't have you in the photos looking like that. David's family is very particular about appearances." That dress. A simple navy blue cocktail dress I'd bought specifically for her wedding. It wasn't designer, but it was elegant. It was what I could afford. But compared to the sea of Versace and Valentino in that room, I might as well have shown up in a garbage bag. I didn't argue. I never did. I just nodded, found my assigned seat, literally behind a pillar where the catering staff kept bumping into my chair, and sat down. Alone. My parents didn't even look for me. They were too busy at the head table, laughing with David's parents, probably pretending they only had one daughter. But I'm getting ahead of myself. Let me back up and tell you how I ended up as the family embarrassment. Growing up, Rachel was always the golden child. 3 years older than me, prettier according to our mother, smarter according to our father, more ambitious according to everyone. She went to Stanford on a full scholarship, got her MBA, and landed a job at a Fortune 500 company. I went to state school, studied art. "Art, Emma? Really?" my mother had said, and started my own business from my apartment. My parents never understood what I did. "Making logos," my dad would say dismissively at family dinners. "It's a hobby, not a career." Never mind that I was actually doing well. I'd built a client roster of small businesses and startups, some of which had gone on to become quite successful. I was making decent money, enough to support myself completely, pay off my student loans and even save. But because I didn't work in a glass tower or have a corporate title, it didn't count. Rachel, meanwhile, became more insufferable with every promotion. She'd visit once a month for Sunday dinner and spend the entire time talking about her achievements. "I closed a $3 million deal this week," she'd announce, waiting for applause. And our parents always delivered. "That's wonderful, sweetheart," Mom would gush. Then she'd turn to me. "And Emma, how's your computer thing going?" "Graphic design, Mom. And it's going well. I just landed a contract with." "That's nice, dear. Rachel, tell us more about your promotion." "Every single." But I kept showing up. Kept trying. Because they were my family. And isn't that what you're supposed to do? Then Rachel met David Chen. David came from serious money. His family owned a chain of luxury hotels across Asia and North America. He was handsome, Ivy League educated, and according to Rachel, her perfect match. She changed after they started dating. Or maybe she just stopped hiding who she really was. "Emma, when you meet David's family, please don't mention what you do," she told me at our first family dinner with the Chens. "Just say you work in marketing or something. Freelance graphic designer sounds so unstable." I should have said no. I should have stood up for myself right then. But I didn't. I smiled and nodded and let her introduce me as someone who dabbles in marketing. David's parents were polite but clearly unimpressed with my family. Our parents lived in a modest 3-bedroom house in the suburbs. My dad was a retired postal worker. My mom had been a secretary. We weren't poor, but we definitely weren't Chen family wealthy. I watched Rachel work overtime to prove she belonged in their world. She started wearing only designer labels. She got Botox at 29. She developed a fake laugh that sounded like wind chimes. And she started treating me like I was something embarrassing she needed to hide. Don't tell anyone we're related unless they ask, she told me once. We were at a charity gala she'd invited me to. Or rather, Mom had forced her to invite me. And if they do ask, just say we're distant cousins or something. I left that gala early and cried in my car for an hour. The engagement happened a year ago. Rachel called me squealing. Emma, David proposed. We're getting married at the Bellevue Vineyard next fall. It's going to be the wedding of the century. I was happy for her. I really was. Despite everything, she was my sister. I'm so excited for you, I told her. I'd love to help with anything you need. I could design your invitations, maybe your programs. Oh, we've already hired someone for that, she cut me off. A real designer. Someone from New York. But thanks. A real designer. Like I wasn't one. Over the next year I barely saw Rachel. She was too busy with wedding planning, she said. But I knew the truth. I didn't fit into the aesthetic she was creating. Then 2 months before the wedding she called me. Emma, we need to talk about your +1. I didn't have a +1. I'd been single for over a year. I wasn't planning to bring anyone, I said. Good. 'Cause actually we're really tight on space. David's family is huge. And we have so many important business contacts coming. Oh, I'm going to need you to sit at a table by yourself. In the back. Is that okay? My stomach dropped. Rachel, I'm your sister. I know and I love you. But this is my special day and I need everything to be perfect. You understand, right? I didn't understand. But I said yes anyway. The day of the wedding I spent 3 hours getting ready. I wanted to look beautiful to prove I could fit in. I did my makeup carefully, styled my hair in soft waves, put on that navy dress and my best heels. When I arrived at the vineyard, Rachel took one look at me and her face fell. Is that what you're wearing? You said cocktail attire. This is cocktail attire. Emma, everyone else is in designer gowns. You look like you're going to a job interview. I felt my face burn. This is what I could afford, Rachel. She sighed dramatically. Fine. Whatever. Just stay out of the photos, okay? And I've moved your seat. You're going to be behind the pillar during the reception. Behind the pillar. It's fine. You'll still be able to hear everything. And honestly, you'll probably be more comfortable there. Away from everyone. That's when I saw it. Shame. My own sister was ashamed of me. I should have left. I should have walked out right then and never looked back. But some pathetic part of me still hoped that maybe, just maybe, she'd realize what she was doing. That family would matter more than appearances. So I sat behind that pillar. I watched the ceremony from the back row, standing on my toes to catch glimpses of Rachel in her $50,000 dress. I watched my parents walk her down the aisle, beaming with pride. During the family photos I wasn't called up. Not once. At the reception, I sat at my table for one. Hidden behind the pillar, picking at chicken that had gone cold because the servers forgot I was there. I could hear Rachel's friends laughing at nearby tables. I could hear David's family toasting to the happy couple. I could hear my mother's voice carrying across the room. We're so blessed. Our daughter has married so well. Or daughter. Singular. I was invisible. That's when he sat down. I looked up startled, to find a man in an impeccably tailored charcoal suit settling into the empty chair across from me. He was probably in his mid-30s with dark hair, sharp features, and the kind of confidence that comes with money. Lots of it. You must be Emma, he said, extending his hand. I'm James Chen. David's older brother. My heart stopped. David's brother. The one Rachel had mentioned in passing. The one who ran the Chen family's entire hotel empire. The one who lived in Singapore and rarely visited. The one whose approval David desperately sought. Ah yes. Hi. I shook his hand, confused. I'm sorry, did you need this table for? No, he said. His eyes scanning the pillar that blocked my view of everything. I needed to see for myself if what I'd been observing all day was actually happening. I don't understand. He leaned back in his chair, studying me. I've been watching you since the ceremony. Watched your sister physically move you to the back row. Watched your parents pose for family photos without even glancing in your direction. Watched the ushers seat you here, behind a marble column, like you're some kind of secret. My throat tightened. It's fine. I'm used to it. You shouldn't be. His voice was quiet but firm. I know what it's like to be the family disappointment. The one who doesn't quite fit the mold. I almost laughed. You run a multi-billion-dollar company. I also dropped out of Harvard to backpack through Southeast Asia for 2 years. I refused to join the family business until I was 30. I dated a woman my parents hated for 5 years just to prove a point. He smiled slightly. Trust me, I've spent plenty of time at the kids' table. Something in his tone made me believe him. Why are you sitting with me? He asked. He was quiet for a moment then. Because I've been listening to your sister all week. She's been staying at our family's hotel for the wedding preparations. Every conversation is about appearances, status, who's wearing what, who's important enough to sit where. He paused. She mentioned you exactly once. She told my mother you were just a freelance designer who wouldn't understand the level of sophistication at this wedding. The words hit like a slap. But then I did some research, James continued. Emma Chen, owner of Chen Creative Studios. You redesigned the branding for Lightwave Tech right before they went public. You created the visual identity for the Meridian Hotel Group's boutique line. You've won 3 industry awards in the past 2 years. I stared at him. How did you? The Meridian Group is our biggest competitor. When they launched their boutique line with that stunning visual identity, we all wanted to know who was behind it. Your name came up in several strategy meetings. He tilted his head. Your sister has no idea, does she? I don't exactly broadcast it. My parents wouldn't care anyway. But Rachel's been telling everyone she works in branding and marketing, hasn't she? My stomach dropped. How did you know that? Because she's been taking credit for your work. Showed my parents a portfolio at dinner last week. I recognized your style immediately. I'd seen it in the Meridian presentation. When I asked her about specific projects, she got vague and changed the subject. The room spun. She's been using my work to impress your family. It appears so. James's expression darkened. And she's been lying about a lot of other things too. Before I could respond, he stood up and offered me his hand. Come on. Where are we going? You're going to sit with me at the family table. Just follow my lead and pretend you're my date. When people ask, tell them the truth about who you are and what you do. James, I can't. Yes, you can. His eyes were kind but determined. I've sat through 3 days of your sister's performance. It's time someone told the truth. My heart pounded. Every instinct screamed at me to say no, to stay hidden, to not make waves. But something else, something that had been buried under years of being dismissed and diminished, whispered, do it. I took his hand. The walk from behind the pillar to the family table felt like a mile. Heads turned. I saw my mother's eyes go wide. I saw Rachel's face drain of color. James kept his hand on the small of my back, guiding me confidently through the room. Everyone, he announced as we reached the table. This is Emma Chen. She's Rachel's sister and one of the most talented designers in the industry. Emma, this is my family. Rachel stood up so fast she knocked over her champagne glass. James, she was perfectly happy where she was sitting. Behind a pillar. James's voice was pleasant but cold. At her own sister's wedding. David looked between us, confused. Rachel, you said Emma couldn't make it. You said she had a work commitment. The table went silent. She did, but then Rachel stammered. I've been here the whole time, David, I said quietly. Behind that pillar. Where your bride seated me so your family wouldn't have to look at me. My mother started to speak, but James held up a hand. There's something else everyone should know. Rachel, would you like to tell them, or should I? Rachel's face went white. Tell them what? About the portfolio you showed my parents. The one with the Meridian Hotel Group branding. The Lightwave Tech logo. The Sunset Restaurant chain identity. Those were projects I consulted on. No. James pulled out his phone, tapped a few times, and turned it to show the table. These are all Emma's projects. Emma Chen of Chen Creative Studios. I have the contracts, the invoices, everything. You've been passing off your sister's award-winning work as your own. The silence was deafening. David stood up slowly. Rachel, is this true? David, I can explain. Is it true? Rachel's eyes filled with tears. The performance tears, I realized. The ones that always worked on our parents. I just wanted to impress your family. You don't understand the pressure I've been under. So you lied to me. To my parents. You stole credit from your own sister. David's voice was shaking. What else have you lied about? Nothing. I swear. You told me Emma was a failed artist living in Mom and Dad's basement, David said, his face hardening. You said she was jealous of your success. You said she'd probably show up to the wedding drunk and embarrass everyone. I felt like I'd been punched in the stomach. James turned to me. Is any of that true? No. My voice was steady now, anger burning away the hurt. I have my own apartment. I own my own business. I've been completely self-sufficient since college. And I don't drink. My father finally found his voice. Emma, this is neither the time nor the place. Then when is? I turned to him. When were you going to tell me you're proud of me? When were you going to ask about my work? When were you going to remember you have 2 daughters? Don't be dramatic, my mother snapped. Rachel needed our support. She was marrying into an important family. And I'm not important enough. The words I'd held back for years came pouring out. I've built something from nothing. I've won awards. I've made a name for myself. But none of that matters because I don't have a corporate title or a rich husband. Rachel was crying harder now. Emma, please don't ruin my wedding. You ruined it yourself, James said flatly. You lied to my family. You exploited your sister. You've shown us exactly who you are. He turned to David. I came to this wedding prepared to offer you a position running our new boutique hotel division. But I can't work with someone who marries a liar. Consider the offer rescinded. Rachel gasped. No. David, do something. But David was staring at her like he was seeing her for the first time. You've been using me. Using my family to climb social ladders. That's not. It is. He pulled off his wedding ring and set it on the table. I can't do this. The room erupted. Rachel's bridesmaids rushed over. My parents started shouting. David's parents sat in stunned silence. And I just stood there, watching my sister's perfect wedding collapse around her. James leaned close to my ear. Want to get out of here? He nodded. We walked out together, past the shocked guests, past the elaborate flower arrangements, past the 5-tier cake that would never be cut. As we reached the parking lot, I started laughing. I couldn't help it. The absurdity of it all, the relief, the sheer insanity of what had just happened. You okay? James asked. I think so. I turned to him. Thank you. You didn't have to do that. Yes, I did. I told you. I know what it's like to be dismissed by your own family. He smiled. Besides, I meant what I said. You're incredibly talented. I've been trying to figure out who designed the Meridian branding for months. Our team has been studying it. Really? Really? Which brings me to a question. He pulled out a business card. How would you feel about consulting for Chan Hotels? We're launching a new luxury brand next year. And we need someone who can create a visual identity that's sophisticated but warm. Timeless but fresh. Someone exactly like you. I took the card, my hands shaking. Are you serious? Completely. Think about it. No pressure. He paused. Also, if you ever want to grab coffee and talk about what it's like to disappoint your family by succeeding on your own terms, I know a great place in the city. I looked at him, really looked at him, and saw genuine kindness in his eyes. I'd like that, I said. 3 months later, I signed a year-long contract with Chen Hotels that tripled my annual income. 6 months after that, James and I went on our first official date. And a year after that, I sat in my new office, a beautiful space in a high-rise with a view of the city, and thought about how far I'd come. Rachel tried to contact me dozens of times after the wedding. Apologetic texts at first, then angry voicemails, then desperate pleas. David had called off the marriage the next day. Apparently, James had uncovered several other lies she'd told, about her job title, her salary, even her age. The Chen family had issued a press release distancing themselves from her. My parents called too, furious that I'd humiliated Rachel. I didn't bother explaining that Rachel had humiliated herself. I just blocked their numbers. I built a new family instead. James and I grew closer, bonding over shared experiences of family rejection and the freedom that came with defining success on our own terms. I reconnected with old friends I'd neglected while trying to please my family. I hired 2 assistants and moved Chen Creative Studios into a real office space. I was happy. Truly, genuinely happy. Now, 2 years later, I occasionally hear updates through the grapevine. Rachel works in middle management at a mid-tier company. Is single. She still lives with our parents, who apparently complain constantly about how I abandoned them. They tell anyone who'll listen that I'm selfish, ungrateful, that I ruined Rachel's life. They have no idea what I'm actually doing. They don't know about the Chen Hotels contract or the 3 other major corporations I now consult for. They don't know that I'm engaged to James, or that our wedding next spring will be small and intimate, with only people who genuinely love and support us. They don't know because I don't tell them. They're not part of my life anymore. Sometimes I wonder if I should feel guilty about cutting them off. But then I remember sitting behind that pillar, invisible and alone, listening to my parents celebrate their only daughter. I remember Rachel's face when she told me to hide myself. I remember years of being dismissed, diminished, treated like I was less than. And I don't feel guilty at all. To anyone reading this who sees themselves in my story, you are not the problem. You were never the problem. Some families can't see your value because they're too busy projecting their own insecurities onto you. And that's okay. You don't need their validation to be successful, to be worthy, to be enough. Build your own family. Define your own success. And never, ever let anyone make you sit behind a pillar again. Last week I got a wedding invitation in the mail. My mother's handwriting on the envelope. Inside was an invitation to Rachel's wedding. Apparently she'd met someone new and they were getting married in a small ceremony. At the bottom my mother had written, "We hope you can put aside your grudge and be there for your sister. Family is family." I threw it in the trash without a second thought. James walked into my office and saw the envelope in the bin. "Your family." "Not anymore," I said, pulling him close. "You're my family now." And I meant it with my whole heart. "Hi, my name is Emma Chen. I'm 30 years old. I own a successful creative agency. I'm marrying the love of my life. And I haven't spoken to my birth family in 2 years. And I've never been happier."